Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on decoding the world of agentic AI. I am Dr. Rajan Gupta, and I am the Director of Data Science and AI ML at Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs. Now, from agentic AI perspective, it is really important that a new technology wave is emerging. It has already disrupted a lot of workflows. It is already kind of being seriously considered in the boardrooms that whether we should invest on this technology or not. But it would be imperative for all of us, it would be important for all of us that we all first understand what this technology is all about and how it is shaping some of the world's biggest applications. Now, just to get started from a business perspective and the sizing of these technologies and the opportunity that it provides, just imagine that, Forbes has projected a compound annual growth rate of 35%, which can lead to, size of reaching around approximately $127 billion by 2029. That's massive. That's massive for a newer technology like agentic AI. Similarly, McKinsey estimates that the use cases of generative AI as well as the subsequent agentic AI can create up to $4.4 trillion of value annually. Again, that's massive. And from Deloitte perspective, in 2025, they were anticipating that 25% of the companies will launch agentic AI if they have been working on generative AI. So from pilots and proofs and concepts of agentic AI, now it's becoming more reality. And the adoption is expected to reach by 50% in 2027. And even from the Indian enterprise agentic AI market point of view, it is expected to reach 1.73 billion by 2030 at a compound annual growth rate even higher than the global standards. What does this all tells us? This tells us that agentic AI is going to disrupt or will play a key contributor role when we are talking about the technological innovations and the use case implementations with the help of AI. And let's try and understand what this technology is all about. What are the key pillars? What are the key fundamentals behind it? How do you define the workflows? What are the key components that you should consider and the impact areas? Now, from the technology point of view, let us all try and understand what has been the paradigm shift that has happened. So, if you talk about the era of 2010s to the 20s, we were all becoming data savvy and matured on the data pipelines and the data infrastructure, and hence monolithic AI systems emerged, which had limited knowledge, limited exposure to data. They can do just one task at a time. They were hard to adapt. That means there was no personalization that was appearing in. And similarly and parallelly, there was workflow and the process automation that was happening in. And once we had good monolithic AI systems with the help of AI, ML, NLP coming in, we started to see more intelligent automation emerging in the year of 2020 and 2021. And then came the fundamental rise in neural network architectures with the help of transformers, which led to the rise of large language models by 2022. This led to us moving from monolithic AI systems to more compound AI systems, which were based on the principles of system design. We had modular components which were quicker to adapt. They can communicate with each other, routings can happen, and things like sequential flow and parallelization of the flow could occur. And there were multiple decision points that were being taken up by the LLMs or even the small language models within any workflow, and which gave rise to compound AI systems. And you can see a lot of search and retrieval platforms were emerging at that point of time. And then in 2024 and 25, we had the emergence of AI agents and the workflows, which we are calling as agentic AI systems, which are built on the principles of AI agents taking over. So a lot of agents were defined last year, and this year, a lot of agentic AI systems are getting defined. So let's try and understand what are AI agents and what are the agentic systems that we are talking about. Now, word agent comes from a Latin word called as agere, which has an inherent meaning of to do or to act. That's the fundamental of any agent. It not just only generates information for you, but it fundamentally acts on your behalf to do something for you. For example, we were looking at Chat GPT when it emerged in 2022 and 23. it was only generating information. For example, if I have to plan a travel itinerary for myself, it can create a beautiful travel itinerary for me. It could have been hypothetically created, it could have been actually created, but it couldn't act, it couldn't book reservations for me, it couldn't book flights for me, it couldn't connect with the local authorities for booking some local transportation services for me. So it couldn't act, it was only able to generate. And this is where fundamentally agents comes into consideration, where they have the capability to act for you. They can make us feel like that we are just commanding somebody and that is doing some job on our behalf. Now, from that perspective, any AI agent is comprised of multiple aspects or multiple blocks. First, there has to be a goal that is being defined and aligned to the business objectives. We are not defining tasks for AI agents. We are defining business goals. That's the fundamental difference that has come up. We are not telling AI agents how to execute it. It will figure out on its own by providing different accesses in which planning and reasoning comes the foremost. So we provide them the access to the intelligence via large language models, small language models, large reasoning models, and large action models through which AI agents can think, plan, reason their task. They can figure out themselves what are the tasks that needs to be executed to complete or to achieve certain business goals. Then it has the ability to act via tools. So there are functions that are being written inside agents which can access to these tools. For example, you need to get an access to your Jira system or maybe OpenSearch database for accessing logs or something that sort of, or any other vector databases for fetching or retrieving the chunks and the embeddings. So from that perspective, it can act. It can integrate with your information systems, with your enterprise resource planning systems, and it can, control those APIs, call those APIs, and execute certain tasks. Similarly, it can remember. The AI agent has access to memory so that the context of any user conversation remains very, very intact. And finally, with the help of feedback loops, it can reflect whether the action that it has taken up is actually making sense or not. And hence, this comes under a SPAR kind of a framework where the AI agents can sense from the environment what needs to be done. It can plan, reason how it needs to be done. It can act via help of tools and functions, and it can reflect that whether the task that was done is achieving the goals or not, or if it has to improve on something. So that's the fundamental of AI agents from the building blocks perspective. Now, technically, the foundation lies on two different aspects. One, that it has become or it has integrated reinforcement learning. So it learns from interacting with the environments, and adapting itself, the actions, the context to achieve the goals. And for that, it can have an adaptive control mechanism to adjust the changing environment, or it can also learn by trial and error, learning through interactions, doing something for it, then getting a feedback, learn fast, fail fast, iterate fast. So that's how its behavior is. And second technical foundation comes from goal-oriented behavior, where modular structure are created to manage the complex objectives. So it can break down a problem into multiple sub-problems and come up with a kind of an execution plan to divide and conquer the strategy. Now, from the different types of agents perspective, we can categorize them into three different agents. One is the foundational agents, which acts as your thinkers, planners, orchestrators, reviewers, critiques. So any task that needs to be done fundamentally reaches the foundational agents first, and then they hand it over to different other agents. The different other agents are the vertical agents or the workflow agents. For example, you are creating a coding agent for yourself, which can execute one particular task end to end. So from that perspective, these agents are vertical in nature, while foundational agents are horizontal in nature. They are having general capabilities to coordinate with other agents. And then you have utility agents. Utility comes with a lot of tools, accesses. Utility comes with a lot of specific smaller task perspective. For example, you need to create report, you have to have a communication agent, and so on. In practice, you can also leave out utility agents, and you may have only foundational and workflow agents with the help of tools creating the workflow for you and being part of your frameworks. Now, given that we have understood that what all AI agents are all about and what are the fundamental things, now the process of using AI agents to define workflows and come up with some sort of automation is what we are referring to as agentic AI today. Now, there has been several levels of automation that we have worked in the businesses. And from that perspective, agentic AI brings in another level of automation as part of our progressive journey that we have been looking into the worlds of robotic process automations and then intelligent automations. And now the agentic AI workflows giving us a kind of an autonomy to the workflows to come up even better level of automation. So imagine you were starting from manual operations with basic digital tools like spreadsheets. You were entering some Excel values and something that you started creating a rule-based automation system, came up with RPA, simple scripts. Then you started to embed ML, NLP, any kind of cognitive capabilities into the process automations. For example, uh, there could be an anomaly that is being detected based on your transaction behavior in the banking system, so it immediately notifies you via an SMS. So those kind of intelligent process automations came into consideration, and they were already live. But then came the agentic workflows, because we had LLMs, memories, tools, reinforcement learnings all being available. We started with agentic workflows, and now we'll go more towards semi-autonomous to fully autonomous agents in future. Now, from the agentic AI point of view, we can have a single agent system or a multi-agent system where, from the single agent point of view, we just have one decision maker and it does the problem solving in isolation. It does not coordinate with the environment too much. It has a fixed environment and it is more linear in nature. Whereas multi-agent systems can have multiple interacting agents, distributed decision making. They work collaboratively in a dynamic environment, and they can execute things parallelly, which makes the job faster for any of the workflows. Hence, what are the different components of agentic AI system whenever you are creating one for yourself? So first being the AI agents, we've already talked about it. Then you have orchestrators, which does all the plannings and executions. You need some frameworks for orchestrations for access to different kind of tools. You have agent operationalizations aspects. So what we are calling as agent ops, that needs to be enabled for your system. Then you have communication protocols. You have A2A kind of newest protocol that has come up, which can help you to communicate between the agents. Then you have different aspects like evaluations, guardrails that are important from the query perspective, that agents are not going in some wrong direction, or they are complying to the standard guidelines. And you have the repos available to you in the form of model gardens and the tools. So in case in fact, whenever you have these kind of components available to you, then only you can truly realize how to define the agentic AI systems, and you define the workflows by combining these components in a logical manner. Now, there are multiple agentic frameworks that are occurring for now. Autogen, Crew AI, LangGraphs, Agent Space by Google, Swarm by OpenAI. These are agentic frameworks which works for multi-agent systems. They provide the orchestration capabilities, the communication capabilities, the memory, mid-term, near-term, short-term, long-term, all kinds of memory systems they have implemented. So from those perspectives, we just want to understand that, if you want to have an application which is more event-driven, which is more request response-based, kind of an application, then we go for something like Autogen. If we are having a graph-based use case where we have a lot of nodes which are connected to each other, we would have a lot of to and fro. We'll have to have a lot of communication between the agents, and we go for something like LangGraph. But in case we have very clearly specified roles, and we have sequentials or hierarchical structures between the agents, then we go for something like Crew AI. Similarly, lightweight orchestrations and modular orchestrations have also emerged very well with Swarm and kind of agent space. And this space is really emerging fast, and you'll see a lot more frameworks coming in. Now, from that perspective, once you have chosen the framework, it is imperative that you understand the agent development lifecycle. You start from building the AI agent in an isolation, then you bring in the different components and start simulating your business workflows. You release that into a first staging environment and then into the development environment. You evaluate both of them. The pre-release has to be in staging, and you see that all the evaluation metrics are going on fine, and then based on the improvement areas, you optimize your uh, agent performances. Now, there are various criterias for agentic use cases. What are the kind of complexities that you observe? Whether the task occurs very frequently for you? Is there any volume of interactions that you observe? The task requires adaptability. So whatever components we have studied so far or learned so far, they all needs to be present in your use case. Then only you will be able to apply agentic AI principles onto that. Whether it would benefit from environment learning, what kind of accuracies are required, what kind of human involvement is required, any kind of privacy security requirements, compliances, regulatory, whether it's going to give us cost benefit analysis, how much automation we want to do it, whether we are augmenting to the humans or we are automating it. So all of that comes into consideration whenever you are picking the use cases, and hence whatever AI agents and agentic AI workflows components are being defined till now, they all become the criteria for picking up a use case. And from once you have picked up a use case, you have implemented it, your measures comes into consideration. That means you want to assess your agents from adaptability point of view, what kind of goals they have been able to achieve, whether they are efficient in achieving their goals or they are taking too much of time. And from that perspective, learning rates and convergences, the speed at which AI is learning, the robustness, resilience, scalability, and the user satisfaction all comprises of different measures that we generally tie back to the agents. And from the agentic workflow point of view, we divide them into several categories of metrics. Like there could be system metrics, latencies, performances, there could be task completion metrics, there could be quality control, the hallucinations and all of that. And there can be tool interaction, how many tools, how much tools, about what is the diversification that is being used. This all helps us to understand if we are able to implement it in a better manner or not. So key learnings for us, agentic AI is the way forward, because as we move on to the automation journey, this will be important because it brings in a lot of intelligence and actions for us. Workflow and process automation is reaching to a new level. That's what we are seeing now. No more it's kind of a robotic process automation. It has a lot of intelligence, lot of actions, lot of contextualizations, a lot of communications happening in the workflows as well. So that is becoming more stronger day by day. And control environments currently are best suited for agents rather than fully autonomous, because still the large reasoning models, action models are not at that level where we start comparing them to AGIs and hence fully leave it to the systems. It has to be still controlled, and hence you will be, you should work on kind of controlling this workflows and environment.